Hello, everyone. Welcome to day 3 of Transfer Transitions. We have another wellness panel going on right now. We have representatives from CAPS and RISE and someone from SHAC as well as someone to talk a little bit about case management as well. The purpose of this panel is to kind of inform you about the formal departments here that can help with student wellness, with UC Ship, various things that a student needs to be aware of in terms of wellness, just to kind of expose these things. So I am going to first introduce our representative from he's representing both CAPS and RISE, but he's from the RISE Center. So give a hand for Gabriel.
Hi everybody, my name is Gabriel Laredo. I'm the Community Relations and Outreach Coordinator for the Counseling Center and also the RISE Liaison. So I'm happy to be here and hopefully answer any questions that you might have.
Okay. Next we have Akash Kapoor from the Student Health Advisory Committee.
Hey guys, my name is Akash. I'm the chair of the Student Health Advisory Committee. We're a group of appointed undergraduate and graduate representatives that act as liaisons to SHAC or to the ACT Center and to CAPS and help students navigate UC Ship and any student health concerns. So I'm happy to be here and answer any questions on, how to get access to the health resources that UCLA has to offer.
Okay. And Sarah, I don't know if you want to introduce yourself, but Sarah's going to be kind of like our point person for case manager. They don't work there, but they've worked a lot, so they're just here to talk about it. So take it away, Sarah.
Yeah, I was going back and forth with case management. They have another commitment at this time, but like the Sensei said, I've worked with them a lot. My name is Sarah Molotros. I'm the Assistant Director of the Transfer Student Center. And I'm just going to give like a very quick spiel about case management and then drop you their information. Case management is kind of like a collaborative group of folks who can help students navigate like just any kind of like personal situation that might be negatively impacting their like UCLA experience. So if you find yourself in any kind of situation, like maybe there's like an emergency in the family or like a personal emergency, physical, mental health, etc., you can talk to case management about helping to like communicate with faculty members, get referrals to different resources on campus, get access to like other things like emergency housing or things like that. They're a great place to go if you feel like you're struggling or you're having some kind of an issue and you're like, I feel like I need help from UCLA, but I don't know who to go to. Call case management. They will help you figure it out. And so I'm going to drop their link in the chat. But if you just Google UCLA case management, you'll find all their information and how to get in touch with them. They're really, really lovely. And they also do dedicated hours just for transfer students weekly during the academic year. So there will definitely be like open office hour time that you can drop in and ask them anything you want to know.
Thank you for that, Sarah. Okay, so again, thank you all for coming. So now we're going to kind of get started and kind of just have some brief introductory questions. So I would like each of the reps to kind of go into say, so you guys already introduced yourself in the department you're representing, and kind of briefly, if the both of you can kind of like talk about what your group does and how they support the wellness of other students. I know Akash, you're part of SHAC, but like kind of like go into stuff about like UC Ship and stuff you're in charge of in that regard. So if whoever wants to go first.
Cool. I'll go ahead and go first. So again, I represent the Counseling Center, or CAPS, Counseling Psychological Services, as well as the RISE Center, which stands for Resilience in Your Student Experience Center, RISE. And CAPS, basically, we are here to support your mental health. We provide traditional therapy, one-on-one therapy, what you see in the movies and, in the media. But we also have group therapy available for students. So, for students that are looking to learn a little bit more about positive coping mechanisms or process various identities. These groups are usually about 8 students and a therapist. We also do psychiatry services for students that have UC Ship. Additionally, we do insurance referrals. So we know many times it's your first time utilizing insurance on your own, and it might be, can be intimidating if it's your first time. And so we have staff members that you can sit down with or, virtually sit down with and walk through how to utilize whatever insurance that you might have, whether it is UC Ship or some private insurance that you might have. we can help you kind of feel more secure in utilizing it and knowing your benefits. Aside from that, we also have a list of about 320 therapists in the LA area that we can help connect you to if you need more ongoing or specialized care. At our center, we do more intermittent and short-term counseling. So instead of seeing you on a weekly basis, we'll probably see you on a couple times every academic year. But if you're looking for that more weekly care or more specialized care, we can help get you connected to somebody in the LA area. And now that we're remote, we can also get you connected to somebody in whatever state or country you are in. We try to make sure that we can connect you as much as possible. And then for the RISE Center, it is a holistic wellness hub. So it's supposed to be a physical extension of CAPS where we really focus on mental health as an everyday practice. So for your physical health, you try to eat well as you can, sleep as well as you can, try to exercise or be, as active as possible. And at bare minimum, you all are washing your hands every day. But when we ask about what are you doing for your mental health, people struggle to actually answer that question. And so the RISE Center is really here to help you kind of develop that proactive life skills to make sure that you have these positive coping mechanisms and are learning how to be resilient and just putting new tools in your toolbox that will help you to be successful at UCLA. Because both CAPS and RISE, we're here to make sure that you have health, healing, and hope and support you along your academic career. It's not like a side to, we're here to help, support you as a whole individual. And so that's just very basic level of some of the resources we provide and how we deal with mental health. But again, we're really trying to eliminate any stigma towards mental health and reaching out to communities that have been underutilized by mental health or have underutilized mental health care or historically underrepresented populations as well, making sure that we are talking about it. Because, for me growing up, it wasn't a topic that I talked about, mental health, or even knowing what yoga was. It's our mission to really get people to start talking about mental health and make it an everyday part of their life. So with that, go ahead and pass it off to Akash.
Okay. All right, Akash.
Thanks.
Same. Oh, sorry. I'm going to say same as before. Same question I posed to Gabriel. So.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Gabriel. So SHAC is, as I said before, a collection of 4 undergraduate and 4 graduate students that are appointed as kind of intermediary liaisons to the ASH Center and to CAPS. So what we do on a biweekly basis is we meet with the directors of the ASH Center and the directors of CAPS, as well as ASH and CAPS staff respectively, and get any key updates from them that we need to share out to students on policy changes, plan changes, updates to care that you can access. And then we also, collect student feedback, collect student questions, collect students' comments and concerns, and bring that to the ASH Center and to CAPS. So for example, if you have a question about how to access a certain resource, or if there is a certain health issue that you're having that you need help navigating, you can come to SHAC and we can help direct you to the place you need to go. And so we're really there for students to feel comfortable talking to other students about their health needs. In terms of UCSHIP, we also try to do our best to increase health literacy on campus. So do programming and outreach to increase student awareness. With UCSHIP, we work really closely with the ASH Center and the ASH Center's outreach department, to try to increase knowledge of what services you can access. So hopefully I can answer some of those questions today later on. And then we also sit on a couple of other committees, including the UCSHIP Executive Oversight Board, which is a collection of representatives from all of the UC campuses. And that's where we work with the Anthem health insurance, which is the provider that UCSHIP is run by. And we work to vote on and present policy changes to that plan. And so whether you're someone who's interested in, adding something to the health insurance plan, changing something on the health insurance plan, that's kind of the stuff that SHAC is able to do, is we're able to have those conversations and change policies on a UC Ship wide level. For example, last year, one of the policies that was implemented was, removing the lifetime maximum on certain types of therapy, as well as, on a UCLA level, we shifted the copay for CAPS from $5 to $0. So that was a pretty big change that we were able to make. And so things like that are what SHAC really advocates for. And yeah, we, as much help as we can get from other students and from you guys who are interested in making changes, that's as much change as we can make on campus. So.
Thank you so much, Gabrielle and Akash. So the next question that we want you to address is, what are the important changes that the students need to know in order to access their resources for this academic year, since it's going to be online? So if you can please explain and explain that, please.
Yeah, I can start talking about some of the Ash Center changes, and then Gabriel, maybe you can take changes to like accessing CAPS. So I think one really important resource that all students, especially incoming transfer students, should use, especially if you're on UC Ship, is the Live Health app, which is a really, really great resource that you can access if you do have UC Ship. And it will basically help you navigate all of your benefits with UC Ship. It'll help you navigate care that you can receive in terms of mental health and physical health. It's also a place where you can schedule appointments and find providers. So one of the key changes, obviously, is that we're in a remote setting, and the Ash Center is prioritizing telehealth visits with its providers. So I mean that's a really key change. I think some other important updates, I think, are in terms of pricing for important resources for students that are on campus and that are required to be on campus for the fall quarter. One of the important changes is that you're mandated to get COVID tested, and so there's actually a calendar on the Ash Center website that students that are supposed to be on campus that have in-person classes can go and check. And based on the group that they fall under, they can find out what their testing schedule is like and when they need to get tested. And those tests are going to be fully funded by UCLA administration. So if you are mandated to be tested because you're supposed to be on campus, then you're going to get tested. I can try to answer more specific questions if there are any specific questions about changes, but I think that's all I have off the top of my head.
Thank you. For CAPS, all our services are still functioning. The only thing is that they're all remote now. And so normally to start services at CAPS, the main thing you would do is to walk in for a brief screen appointment, and it's basically a same-day appointment. Now that we're remote, we're asking that everybody call in to our main line, and I'll go ahead and put it in the chat, but it's 310-825-0768. And you can call in and request a brief screen appointment via the telephone, and what will happen is that they will schedule you for a same-day appointment where somebody will call you back. These hours are from Monday through Thursday, 9 to 4, and Fridays, 9 to 3. And what would happen is basically you meet with a triage clinician who would I keep using this language that we're in person, but communicate with you over the phone, understand what your needs might be, and help you identify some of your needs. If you're not exactly sure yourself, or you're just trying to look for more resources, they can help you kind of just figure out what some options would be for you. And so they would give you a couple different things. The first thing is relevant resources at UCLA that might be helpful for you. The second thing is possibly getting you connected with the therapist at CAPS to be seen a couple times throughout the academic year. The third one is getting connected to somebody off campus for that more specialized care. So they'll be able to do that. So that's the biggest change, is that those brief screen appointments are done via phone. In terms of our ongoing appointments, those would be done through a HIPAA compliant Zoom. So Zoom that makes sure to takes the extra security level to make sure that we are protecting your privacy. And so those are the major changes. The other thing is, because we have students now not just centralized at UCLA, but all over the globe, there are some restrictions in terms of therapists with their licensing. Usually they're licensed for specific states. And so most of our therapists are licensed in California. And so there are some difficulties in starting new treatment with students that are in other countries or even other states. And so because of that, we still ask you to call in and we can help you get connected to somebody that is specifically in your state or country, wherever you might be. And so those are the biggest changes. Other than that, the RISE Center, they usually have tons of in-person healing events and mindful events and meditation events. They've completely changed to remote learning. So they do have a virtual library that has a ton of amazing resources that I highly recommend you check out. And I'm going to keep talking as I put the link in there. It's the RISE Center at ucla.edu. They have a virtual library that covers different resources. So they'll have some programming, some live programming in terms of mindfulness and meditations and some trauma-informed yoga. They also have pre-recorded videos on COVID and basically the different things we're feeling. So like the lack of motivation or the frustration or some of the grief in either possibly losing some loved ones or some of that symbolic grief of, this wasn't what I was expecting my first year at UCLA to be. And so they have some of those resources that are absolutely amazing. They also have resources for how to deal with conflict at home, because we know the safer at home kind of order has caused problems just in terms of, frustrations and dealing with the lack of ability that we have, but also increases in intimate partner violence and domestic violence. And so they have resources available for students. They also have a ton of other resources, resources for our Black Bruins, understanding the racial trauma that's going on and has been going on, and realizing that students need a space to talk and to heal. And so some of those resources are on the website. It's all in the virtual library. So those are the biggest changes between CAPS and RISE. We're still available. It's just, via phone or HIPAA compliant Zoom, but we are still available for all students.
Thank you so much for answering that in detail. I also wanted you to explain more about UC Ship. A lot of students are new here and they want to know more about how they can use the UC Ship outside of UCLA remotely, as you mentioned, and how to navigate it in general, and what are the counseling options for them.
Akash, did you want to add some changes that you thought of? Or?
Yeah, just really quickly. And then I think we can both speak to some parts of UC Ship. So for the ASH Center, Gabriel reminded me a couple of things are important. So the ASH Center has something called the ASAP clinic, which is on the 3rd floor. And that is currently dedicated as a fever and cough clinic for patients that have symptoms related to COVID-19. So if you do have symptoms, call into the ASH Center, or you can walk up to the ASAP clinic, and they offer COVID-19 testing. For medically necessary COVID-19 testing, if you have UC Ship, the PCR test is covered. It's $0. For people that don't have UC Ship or on Bruin Care, the test can be from $65 to $105. So it is expensive, but there are also a lot of other options for COVID-19 testing that are free throughout LA. There are a couple of drive-through testing centers across from the Veterans Cemetery, and there's also a couple of clinic testing centers around Santa Monica. And then also for optometry services, I remember that was another thing. So optometry services are open again by appointment. So if you need to, so part of UC Ship is you get your vision coverage. And so, if you're trying to access vision related care, you can now make an appointment with the UCLA optometry services. And so, yeah, those are some other key updates that I wanted to mention. But a lot of information is accessible and available on the ASH Center website. So.
Just going back to your question in terms of UC Ship, yeah, UC Ship, and I'm sure Akash has way more information, but it is a global, it is able to be utilized globally, and so you can utilize UC Ship wherever you might be, whether you're in California or not. The main thing is that you will usually need a referral. So if you do have UC Ship and you want to utilize mental health services, you can call in and ask for a referral. Sometimes we'll ask you to go through a brief screen just so we can know a little bit more about you and make sure we give you the right resources. But once you have that referral, you can utilize it with any mental health provider in the nation. Also, they do have specialty services for students that are out of the country. With that being said, Akash mentioned it earlier, that the copay has gone down to $0. And so that's huge, because back even just a couple of years ago, it was $20. And so if you went to see a therapist 4 times a month, like that adds up real quickly. And so it's amazing work that SHAC has done to really advocate to get it down to $0 and to make it more accessible for students. Again, you can always stop by our office to know about more specifics about, you know, what your mental health benefits are by just, again, calling and setting up an insurance consult if you want really in detail information. But yeah, you would be able to see somebody, you know, on a weekly basis, or if you need more specialized care, you can talk about that. And then UC Ship also has Live Health Online, which is a telehealth option. So basically, if you have a computer, laptop, or phone and you have FaceTime ability, you can be able to FaceTime with a therapist outside of CAPS that you know, is able to meet with your specific needs. So if you need to meet with somebody at 1 a.m., they might have somebody available. You know, obviously you have to schedule that ahead of time, but they have a lot more flexibility in their hours. They also have a ton of different languages. So if you would prefer to speak, have your sessions done in a different language, that might be an option as well. CAPS has also purchased coupons so that this opens up to students with non-UC Ship as well. Any UCLA student can get a coupon from us, and it'll waive all fees for Life Health Online. The only thing it doesn't cover is late fees or missed appointment fees. But those are just some of the options with UC Ship. I'll go ahead and pass it back to Akash.
Yeah, thanks, Gabriel. I think you know, Gabriel covered it pretty well. I did have a little graphic here that I was hoping to share. Could I share my screen?
One sec. Oh, whoever's Sarah, if you can handle that. There.
Oh yeah, okay.
There we go.
So there's nifty little graphic that I found, you know, which kind of covers some of the options that you have. So as a new UCLA student, you know, and actually this deadline is coming up pretty quickly. It's September 20th. You have the option to, well, you automatically get enrolled in UC Ship. And then if you have your own private insurance that meets like the UCLA guidelines, you have the option to waive UC Ship. And that basically means that you choose not to enroll in UC Ship, and you're either enroll in your own personal plan, or most likely, you know, your parents' plan as a dependent. And then with that, you have the option to enroll in something called Bruin Care, which costs $60, and it's kind of like a very basic version that enables you to access kind of some of the key resources at the ASH Center for slightly lower cost. So as you can see, you kind of get a comparison with some of the main things that students are most likely going to use during the fall in the remote learning environment, which is those primary care visits for telehealth. And so as Gabriel mentioned before, for a lot of outside, if you want to see a specialist, you usually need to get a referral from your primary care provider. And so for anyone on UC Ship, your primary care provider, your PCP, is going to be someone at the ASH Center. But what's really nice is that you're able to schedule that visit for $0 and get a referral to someone who might be in your own country or in your own state, which makes that process a lot easier. And then also, if you're enrolled in Bruin Care, you also have that same $0 copay for primary care visits. And yeah, so I thought this was a nice little comparison that kind of shows you some of the different options that you have with UCSHIP when UCSHIP is waived, and if you enroll in Bruin Care. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. But yeah, I think, you know, another thing that's really important to mention, which I think is something that most people don't know, is especially if you're out of state or if you're out of the country, you can go to the Anthem website. Anthem is a large insurance provider, and any physician or provider that's covered under Anthem is covered under UCSHIP, because UCSHIP is provided by Anthem. And so if you find a provider that's under Anthem and they're in network, then you can get the same benefits that you would get with UCSHIP with that provider, again, provided a referral. So that's something to know, is that, you know, you can use that listserv to access that. You can find this information if you go to the UCSHIP website. The UCSHIP website has all this information about you know, how to obtain medical care off campus, and they have a really nice FAQ guide, and I'll link that FAQ guide in the chat right now so that people can access it. But yeah, I think that's kind of the updates I had.
Thank you both for those wonderful answers to the questions. We're gonna kind of go into ask Gabriel a specific question. Akash, feel free to kind of ping in too. But in terms of CAPS offering therapy, could you go over like how many sessions, if someone was like enrolled into CAPS, how much are they allowed per year? Is there any changes to that number?
Yeah. So in the past, it has been like a 3-6 model. So all UCLA students are given 3 sessions as a baseline, and then students with UC Ship, since UC Ship tends sometimes to be their only insurance, those students are given 3 additional sessions. So it's about 3, 6. But also during summer, usually that is a time, except for this summer, when we are less busy, and so we have less students coming in, and so we do raise the ability for students to come in, and so we add additional 3 sessions for all UCLA students. So it tends to be like a 6-9 model. At the end of the day, we are in the process of figuring session limits out right now, so I don't have any for sure information right now, but it's all case-by-case situations. You know, obviously we're dealing with humans who are complex and have different needs, and so, you know, if a student would need more, that's when they would be able to talk with their clinician and kind of figure out what the right path is for them. Sometimes, you know, getting connected with specialized therapist right away is just more beneficial for the student. So we would always talk with the student about, you know, what their options are and, you know, next steps.
Okay, thank you. Akash, do you have anything to add about that, or?
No, I think Gabriel covered it pretty well. You know, I think one of the things that we've been in conversation about too with you know, Dr. Green is what session limits should look like for the fall, and so, you know, I think as soon as we figure that out, we'll get that information out to students. So.
Okay. Thank you again for both your questions. Malik, if you want to give them the panelists another question, feel free.
Yes. We have a question that says, what are some mindfulness and meditation resources to stay healthy at home, and how to deal with
Malik, you like cut out.
I'm sorry, I'll repeat the question. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're good now. It's okay. Internet.
So the question is, what are some mindfulness and meditation resources to stay healthy at home, and how to deal with being on the computer all day?
Cool. Yeah, so I will remind you all about the RISE Center. Again, they have a virtual library that, not just because I'm a liaison there that I'm biased, but it actually has a lot of amazing resources. And so my internet's being slow, so let me see if I can pull it up. Just to, would it be helpful if I showed you where it's at on the website and just kind of what they have? Is that helpful?
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. So give me 1 second to pull it up, and then are y'all able to see my screen?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay. And it says the Rise Center?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool.
Bunch of yoga mats.
Okay, perfect. So if you go to the top where it says virtual programs and resources, this is where they have amazing things. So they have a holistic library. So they have a video learning library, which contains videos on coping with COVID, you know, overcoming feelings of discouragement, balancing college with home life, staying connected to loved ones, and adjusting to change. And then we also have meditation and mindfulness. So these are some of the guided meditations that you can try out. So again, like I was saying, when I was younger, I didn't know about mindfulness and meditation, or I would try it and be like, I can't stay focused. I'm going to stop doing it. But I think with mindfulness and meditation, it's just practice. It's a process. So you get to try it out a little bit more. And so there's 21 different guided meditations where you can just play it and just lay down or find somewhere comfortable or sit in a comfortable position and listen to it. There's also mindfulness, other resources available right here. Additionally, a Sleep 101 module. So basically, part of mindfulness is realizing how well you are preparing for sleep. So, you know, are you constant? I know it's hard during remote learning, but sometimes, you know, we're doing a lot of stuff in our bed because, you know, space is limited. But sometimes when we do work in our bed, it causes us to associate that bed with anxiety that we might have. And so then we can't fall asleep later on. And so this whole Sleep 101 module kind of helps to make sure that you are being aware of what you're doing to help with your sleep and to have more restful sleep. Mindful eating has a ton of great resources and new videos that will come out either this week or next week on basically understanding our relationship with food. And there's even like a video of me and 4 coworkers just having a meal and slowing down and realizing, you know, like smelling the food, looking at it, tasting it, using our 5 senses to kind of slow down and realize what sensations we're having. And it sounds wild, but it's actually like, it's just really helpful to just be in the moment. A Rise playlist, handouts and worksheets that again will help you to identify different areas of wellness and maybe where you can utilize some extra support. And then again, these community specific healing. So when home isn't safe, so if you that's one, healing support for Black ruins, harmony at home, working through those conflicts, grit coaching program. So again, to have that more peer-to-peer connection. And then we also have mental health leadership training for students that you know, want to be able to support others in their mental health, but also support themselves and just have more information. But I feel like I'm getting too into the weeds, and so I lost the Zoom meeting. But with mindfulness, it's really just taking a break and being aware of what's going on with your thoughts and with your actions, because we have this automatic we have these automatic thoughts that affect our feelings, that affect our behavior, and it's kind of they automatically happen and they guide a lot of what's going on. And so with mindfulness, it's really just pausing and being in the moment and understanding what's going on. So if you're angry, thinking about, okay, why am I angry, and realizing what the effects of that might be and what are the causes. It's also just like, I can't stress enough, just simply just being like being a human being and just being there, because our minds time travel. We're either thinking about what happened in the past and focusing on that, or what's going to happen in the future and having anxiety about that. It's hard to actually be here and think about, okay, I'm sitting in this chair, I can feel how it's sitting on my back, you know, am I hungry, things like that, or just noticing what's going on and just slowing down, because we don't do enough of it.
Thank you for both your, oh, thank you for your insight about that, Gabriel. Akash, if you have anything to add, feel free.
Sorry, just real quick. We also have MARC, which is the Mindfulness Awareness Research Center, MARC, which is an amazing research-backed mindfulness, I don't know what to say, but just a hub of different meditations. They also have classes for the UCLA community and inside knowledge. Students are able to do these classes for free. Usually it's like 60, $100 for community members, but students absolutely get to do it for free. Sometimes they have even retreats, and I know they've done a couple virtual retreats, but just amazing resources. Since you all are UCLA students, highly recommend utilizing it because it's free for you all. And they also have an app that you can download and try out. Sorry.
Thank you. No, it's a really good resource to share. Akash, if you don't have anything else to add, I can move on to the next question.
Just seeing in the chat, is that class for units? No, it's just more personal development kind of class. I think you can get some kind of certification, but I think that's down the road. A great question.
Taking a class for fun.
It
I know, taboo, taboo. But okay, anyways, next question. How is UC Ship, the insurance, is mainly towards Akash, but Gabriel, if you have anything to add, how is UC Ship different from my own insurance, and how can I choose to opt in or out after this year?
Yeah, I can try to help answer some of that at least. So in terms of how is UC Ship different from my own insurance, I think it really depends on the type of insurance you have, which makes that question a little bit difficult. But depending on your insurance, you should be able to access your summary of benefits. And I think the key difference between UC Ship and other insurance plans is accessing services that are at UCLA. So for example, if you guys remember that chart that I showed you earlier, some of the key numbers there were with UC Ship, a COVID PCR test is $0 for UCLA students versus without UC Ship, it's $65 to $105. So it's like the full cost of the test. It's the same thing for medication. So medications under UC Ship are capped at a $5 copay. But if you don't have UC Ship, then you'd be paying the full cost of the medication if you do get it at the Bruin pharmacy. And it's the same thing for primary care visits. So if you do a telehealth visit at the ASH Center, it's a $0 copay for UC Ship, and then it's a $49 copay if you don't have UC Ship. So I personally actually am not on UC Ship. So I have waived UC Ship, which is an option that every student has at the beginning of the academic year. And so if you believe that you have an insurance plan that may give you better access to coverage, for me, since I'm an out-of-state student and my plan comes from my mom's company, I decided that plan was better for me for when I'm home, and I tend to access services outside of UCLA. And so for me, that was the better option. And if you do, as actually Gabriel said before, if you do want to, compare the insurance that you have access to, you can actually call the ASH Center, and the ASH Center will help you navigate kind of your own insurance and, kind of help you figure out whether UC Ship is right for you. But yeah, I think in terms of waiving UC Ship, the key deadline is September 20th. And so at the beginning of the year, you have the option to waive UC Ship. And then you also have the option to opt in to Bruin Care. And the Bruin Care opt-in is $60. And that basically provides access to all basic services at the ASH Center. So for example, it gives you that telehealth visit with your primary care provider at the ASH Center for that $0 copay, which is kind of the key variable for a lot of students, which is why a lot of students choose to opt in to Bruin Care. Gabriel, if you have anything to add, I think that's pretty much what I have.
I think you covered it.
Just a kind of quick follow-up. I know, Palik, you have another question, like a question to follow up. I just kind of wanted to get this really important one in the chat. So in terms of like, say, if the student has like a dependent or family members, does UC Ship apply to them? Akash, you're muted.
Yeah, so actually, it's great that you brought that up. That's actually a group that we've been working with pretty closely, is students with dependents. They were kind of our key collaborators over the spring quarter, because they are definitely a key group that needs support at UCLA. And yes, so to answer your question, there are certain coverages for dependents with UC Ship, and that's another comparison point for a lot of people. And actually, that's one of the reasons why a lot of students choose to use UC Ship, especially students with dependents, because from my anecdotal knowledge, UC Ship does provide, and Anthem in general does provide good access to care for those dependents. And there are a lot of resources at UCLA that you can access through the Students with Dependents office. And they've been working pretty hard to help expand those resources for students on campus that do have dependents. And I can actually try to link the contact information for that office in the chat right now. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you for that good response. All right, Palik, you can take it from here.
So the next question we have is, how can I upload the documents to the ASH Center Health portal?
Yeah, yeah, I saw that question before the meeting. So in terms of documents that you want to upload, if you're talking about immunization documents, which are kind of the required documents that you have to upload when you're enrolling as a UCLA student, if you log into your student health portal, which you can find on the ASH Center website, you log in pretty much the same way that you log in with My UCLA. And when you do that, you're able to, there's a button that says upload immunization documents, and you can upload them as a PDF file from your laptop. And usually you can get these immunizations from your PCP if you have a primary care provider outside of the ASH Center. You can also schedule a visit, and you can also make an appointment to get immunizations if there are some immunizations that you need to get done, and then you can get that documentation directly from the ASH Center. Yeah.
So I think a follow-up question that comes in the chat is, I need help filling out the waiver, but can't get any answers from anywhere. I have tried to contact the ASH Center through the Message Center, My UCLA, or even through the website Contact Us tab on their website, but never got back any response. Is there any way I can contact them?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think, I would first of all suggest calling in the ASH Center. I'm surprised that the Contact Us tab didn't help you find an answer, and I apologize for that. I would try calling in the ASH Center. I can link the number for the ASH Center, and there should be there's actually a waiver troubleshoot help center. And so I'll link the number for that. And if you can't reach them, then you can reach out to SHAC, and we can do our best to help answer any waiver related questions. So that's the SHAC email. So you can send us an email, and we can try to help answer any questions. And I also called them several times. I never got through any real person. Okay. Yeah, so just shoot us an email, shoot SHAC an email, and we'll do our best to help you answer those questions. And for anything that we can't answer for you, we'll get in touch directly with ASH staff and help get your questions answered.
Thank you so much, Akash, for taking care of that. Vicente, did you want to answer the next question?
Yeah, just as another question, I guess this is kind of like touching in more. I think you already answered this, Gabriel, but feel free to like add anything if there's anything else that you'd like to clarify on. But actually, no, I scratched that one. What are the benefits of UC Ship? It's more so towards Akash. Sorry, I was reading the wrong question. But yeah, what are the
Yeah,
benefits?
of course. Okay, so well, I think there are a couple of key benefits. I don't want to, to bring up the chart again, but I think the key benefit is in cost when accessing UCLA resources, right? Any UCLA student can access the Ash Center. Okay, I'm gonna bring out the chart one more time. So any UCLA student can access the Ash Center. Any UCLA student can access CAPS. The difference is in your ability to, there we go. The difference is in how much you're going to pay when you do access those resources. So as you can see, one of the key things that we anticipate students are going to be accessing during this time is COVID testing. And so if you are on campus, but you're not, in the mandatory enrolled program, so if you're just, in and around Westwood, you're working in Westwood, or you're taking online classes in Westwood, you can still get tested at the Ash Center. And if you have UC Ship, that's $0. So that's one of the key benefits right now for COVID testing. It's the same thing with medication that you receive at Bruin Pharmacy. So your medication cost, for example, let's say your medication costs $25, that cap is at $5. So you're only going to be paying $5 for those, for that medication that, normally would cost $25. And then the telehealth visit is another cost barrier that changes based on UC Ship. So it's $0 if you have UC Ship, if you're trying to access care at the Ash Center, and $49 if you're trying to access the telehealth visit at the Ash Center without UC Ship. And then with CAPS, that's another thing. So, as Gabriel said, we tried really hard to get that number down from $5 to $0. And so now if you have UC Ship, your CAPS visit is $0, but if you don't, it's $15. And it's the same with immunizations. So as a UCLA student, you're required to get immunizations. And so any immunizations that are required for UCLA students, if you have UC Ship, those cost $0 for you. And if you don't, then you'd have to get it from another source. But at the same time, as I mentioned before, I'm personally not on UC Ship either. And so I think it really depends on the, it really depends on, kind of what you anticipate using. And Sarah, I see your follow-up question about special benefits that are lesser known or underutilized. So I think there are a lot of benefits that are especially true for UCLA, as we mentioned before. Optometry services, dental services are really great on UC Ship. And then there are also a lot of more specific policy changes that Anthem is making and instituting. For example, last year we were able to institute gender conforming facial surgery for students on campus. So that's something that's now covered under UC Ship. There's also chiropractic and acupuncture therapy that's covered. And so for a full list of those benefits, again, I don't know them off the top of my head, but you can, and what I recommend everyone to do before they decide whether to use their own resources or whether to buy into UC Ship is look into your summary of benefits on your own health insurance plan. For example, the plan that I have is called Aetna. And so you can go to your health insurance plan's website. So if you have Aetna, you can go to Aetna.com, or if you have Blue Cross Blue Shield, you can go to bluecross.com, and you can look up your summary of benefits, and you're able to compare it specifically if there's something that you're looking for. For example, if you know that you plan to use chiropractic services, or if you know that you plan to have a certain specialty procedure, you can look that up and see which one provides you better coverage. And that's definitely what I recommend doing for anyone. And yeah, for dental services, it's the same thing. At UCLA, you have access to full dental coverage with UC Ship, but a lot of other plans also have really great dental coverage. And again, that limitation is really just, the limitation is in what plan you would have if you weren't on UC Ship. And so that's why we recommend, and that's why, UC Ship is automatically added for students. It's because, it's made in a way that it's at a high standard, that it's better than most health insurance providers, unless you have a really, really good health insurance plan.
That was a great answer. Thank you for that. So another question we have is, what do students need to have insurance?
Yeah. Was that why or what do they need to have in their insurance?
I think like maybe paperwork wise, or I'm not sure what the question is asking, but it's asking what do they need?
Okay. Yeah. I've been talking a lot. Gabriel, do you want to answer this, or I can take this if you don't know the answer?
Yeah, I don't know the answer.
Okay. So in terms of if you are planning to waive UCSHIP, you need a couple of things from your personal insurance. So you need to know your summary of benefits, and you need to know, or you need to have your full health insurance plan, which you can usually access from most health insurance have kind of like a provider portal where you can log in, and those are things you need to upload to the ASH Center, and the ASH Center will audit your summary of benefits and your full plan to make sure that it fits under the parameters that UCLA deems acceptable for outside insurance. Another thing that you're going to need is you're going to need the front and back of your insurance card. And then, one second, I can actually, so those are kind of the key things that you need from your own insurance if you are planning to waive UCSHIP. Another thing that's really important, and you can find this waiver criteria, I've actually linked it in this chat. There's a list of waiver criteria. So if you do have your own health insurance and you're planning to waive UCSHIP, if your insurance plan doesn't fit this waiver criteria, then actually you're kind of forced to get UCSHIP as a UCLA student. And that's actually to protect students, to make sure that you have access to the best care possible. And so some of this criteria is that it has to have an annual out-of-pocket maximum of $8,150 or less for an individual. So there are some plans that have higher out-of-pocket maximums, you know, $12,000, $14,000. And so if you do have a high out-of-pocket maximum, what UCLA does is they put you on UCSHIP so that if in the case of an emergency where you do have a procedure that costs more than that, you don't have to pay more than $8,150. And so I would recommend, for anyone that is looking to get answer to, what their insurance needs to have, to go and access that criteria chart that I just posted in there. And that has like a list of all the criteria that their insurance needs to fulfill.
All right. Thank you so much. I think that's all the questions we have. So I'm going to, for the remainder of the time, I'm going to open up the floor to some questions. If any of you have any last minute questions you'd like to ask to both Gabriel and Akash, feel free to unmute yourself or put them in the chat.
While we wait for questions, I realized I forgot two important things. At the Council Center, we do have a crisis line that's available 24/7 on weekends and holidays, and basically anytime you need it. During the day, it'll be answered by one of our clinical coordinators. After hours, it'll be answered by one of our counselors on call. It is the same number as our main line, so it's 310-825-0768. I highly recommend you all have it in your phones. I'm not sure if you all received your ID cards, but it's always on the back of every student ID card. And beginning, I think a year ago, we also have the suicide safe number on the back of every student ID number, because we want to make sure people know to reach out if they do need support. But just want to highlight that's a huge number that we have, and you can connect with somebody at any point when you are in crisis. And so I want to let you know that. The other thing is, specifically, since you all are transfer students, we do have drop-in hours, which are basically, they used to be in the transfer center, but now obviously they're virtual. But basically during a time, you'd be able to meet with a clinician that understands the transfer student experience and has experience working with transfer students. Basically have it's not therapy, but it's just a more informal conversation with them if you're just trying to figure out what are some mental health resources, or, I don't know what to do just in general, or just want to talk to somebody and kind of get a check-in. you can do that. And so those will be posted on our website when we finalize when the dates and times will be. But we have one specifically for transfer students. We also have one for undocumented students. We also have one for the LGBT Campus Resource Center and DASU International, or Center for International Students and Scholars.
Okay, thank you very much for the answers. I think, Reggie, we can stop the recording